All right. So I know the main thing that happened in chapter 3. Oh yeah, by the way, chapter 3, continuing on with the theme of just having ridiculous titles.
Mm-hmm.
We have ingredients from another world possess preposterous effects. So it's the image that I use for my thumbnail. Future Brownie will put the picture up when appropriate. But this whole chapter basically kind of revolves around Mokuda trying to get a hang of magic and Fel making fun of him the whole time.
That's fair.
So last chapter he kind of inquired on how to use magic, and Fel's like, okay, well, you need mana manipulation. You need to be able to control the magic within your body in order for you to harness it for an attack or support and stuff like that. And then he was able to make contact with him and then circulate the magic in his body. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to practice. I'm going to wake up in the morning and I'm going to practice a little bit. And, oh, okay, well, it kind of works, but Fel being incredibly, what's the word I'm looking for? Impatient.
Mm-hmm.
He's just like, you should be better at this. And Mokuda's not that kind of guy. He just stumbles his way through everything. And eventually, at a certain point, he gets tired from his own form of practice. And they have another lunch. This time's lunch is pork chops, which kind of unnerves Mokuda to a bit because, well, the pig that he has in his inventory is orcs.
I was literally about to say, is this the orc?
Yeah, and they look
thing?
super ugly.
Yeah.
So
They probably taste good, though.
He's very skeptical about cooking them, so he does the thing where he's just like, okay, well, just think it's just regular pork. It's just regular pork. And then he tries it after cooking it, and he's like, this is amazing. This is fantastic grade. Mokuda ends up being really thankful to Fel for being like, okay, well, you managed to show me a little bit of magic, and you made me so much money. We'll go ahead and purchase some high grade. What did I write down? It was high grade domestic black Wagyu thick cuts.
I'm hungry.
Yeah.
I've had Wagyu before, and it's better than regular type of steak.
Yeah. So that ends up launching into the discussion of, oh yeah, well, we've raised this cattle specifically for the purpose of turning it into tasty food. And then Fel just goes, it's like, I've never heard of that. No human in this world does animal husbandry because it's so easy to where it's like, oh, you need beef? Go fight a cow demon. You need pork? Go fight an orc. Because the world is overflowing with monsters. You at no point do you need to farm them in order to have more of them. And so when Fel ended up eating the high grade Wagyu, he got a 50% bonus to all of his stats because otherworldly food gives you a bonus to your stats.
Permanent?
No, it's temporary. I don't know how long it lasts. It's probably less than a day, but it's more than a few hours because Fel gets it throughout the night.
Does he go? I'm trying to remember. Doesn't he go and use it or go hunting?
Yeah. So Future Brownie can go ahead and throw up the image right now, but Mokuda kind of just gets shocked by looking at Fel's stats. He's like, yeah, I should probably not do this again. Because Fel is already country-destroyingly powerful, and to give him increased stats on that is just not necessary. When that kind of winds down, Mokuda's just gonna be like, I'm gonna set up camp, I'm gonna knock off for the night. But then Fel goes, I need to work off this meal. I feel amazing right now, and he's crackling like a Super Saiyan right now, and he darts off into the night. And he ends up fighting, an entire orc settlement. He fights a bunch of creatures, giant deer, more just more and more orcs. And then at the tail end of that, he runs into a chimera and he downs it in one attack. And then when Mokuda wakes up in the morning, he just he just looks at all the bodies and he's like, this is the worst. It says, yep, I need to think of an excuse to just never give him Japanese food ever again, because, or at least the other world food, because it's like he'll use the recipes whenever he gets this world's food, but the stat bonuses are too much. He's gonna, in return, Fel also kind of gets fed up with Mokuda and how slow his training ends up being. As much as Mokuda's thankful for Fel to showing him how to use magic, it's like his training, quote unquote, is going far too slow. So he ends up just grabbing Mokuda and he's like, we're going to go get some combat experience. And he throws him to the wolves. Well, goblins. So they find a pack of goblins. He aggroes all of them. And then he kind of just throws Mokuda in there. And he's like, well, you're going to throw fireballs until you know how to throw a fireball. And then he puts up the barrier around him so that way, like, he doesn't take any damage. But now a new form of trauma has appeared, which is Mokuda getting dogpiled by goblins.
That's weird. Forgive me. This is the rock thing, yeah?
No, the rock thing's later. He learns fire magic first. And then
that's right. Yeah, you're right.
He learns fire magic first because he has an affinity for fire. He doesn't have a very good affinity for wind, and he has almost no affinity for water. But fire and earth are pretty all right. He ends up blowing up a bunch of goblins, and their gore and viscera ends up getting splattered against Fel's barrier, which just adds to his trauma of being attacked. And then eventually he does. He does throw a respectable fireball with the literal last drop of mana that he had. And then once he does it, he feels proud of himself. Fel, in turn, feels proud of him as well. And then he faints. And then Fel goes and he kills like the Goblin King. And he just waits around until Mokuda wakes back up. And then that's basically where the chapter ends, without talking too much about like how the meals are. Like he did do the pork chops, and then they do one more meal that I don't remember off the top of my head, but it isn't one of the important ones. Sometimes I'll remember a meal when it has something to do with, it's like, oh, he's trying snake for the first time. I was like, this one was just pretty straightforward. As I mentioned, the chapter does definitely end with like one more thing right afterwards. There's just a segment where they go into a new city after they kind of have like a little spat about, it's like, okay, well, where should we go? And then the other goes, where should we go? And it's just like, are we kind of just aimlessly wandering around? And then Fel's like, all right, never mind. I've made up my mind. We're going to go where tasty food is. So we're going to go into the forest because I've eaten some animals in there and they're good. And then you can make them even better. And so they stop by a town, and Mokuda's like, okay, well, if we're going to be aimlessly wandering the continent, I'm at least going to want a map. So they stop by in there, and then the situation comes up again where it's like, what is this magical beast that you're carrying with you?
Aren't maps in this universe like really hard? Is this the universe where like maps are really hard to come by?
A lot of the time they are. This is one of them. You're not wrong. If you're part of the Adventurer Guild, I think you can buy a map for pretty cheap. But if you're just a civilian, I think they are treated like military intelligence. Because I know a lot of other like isekai or fantasy settings in general, because maps and books need to be written by hand. And so getting a good or accurate map is very difficult, so it makes them very expensive. Yeah, he was leaning off of that information. No, he doesn't get a map.
So he has to join the Adventurer Guild.
He did, but I think that knowledge comes later.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I don't mean to skip ahead. It's just something in my head that I'm like...
No, you're fine.
I'm aware of things that happen only because of the anime, but I know that sometimes it's different. That because it goes from like book, the anime and the book are different, obviously.
Yeah.
With the flow of the story, but yeah.
The anime did a really good job of getting everything that happened. Even in the form of like post episode kind of like previews, whenever it has like all the chibi characters like talking about stuff, that does happen in the book as well with like little interludes. There was an interlude after chapter 3 in which it's just one of the guys from Team Iron Will, the guys that escorted Mokuda from one area to another. It was just him being like, it's like, okay, well, we figured this place was really sketchy. We should leave. We're going to take a job as an excuse to escort this guy out. We'll make a little bit of money. We wish we made more money, but he's willing to take care of our food. And then he goes on to write like his little journal of like, this is the best food I've ever tasted in my entire life. I really look forward to running into this Mokuda guy again. Hopefully he opens up a restaurant or something like that, and I'll take time out of my schedule to visit it every year because that food was amazing. It was just really cute seeing it from Team Iron Will's perspective. I know there's going to be more interludes, and I'll probably talk about them at the end of these chapter videos.
Do you think that Mokuda learns elements in order of earth, wind, and fire? Get it? Because
like the band.
I had to. I'm sorry.
There you go. I thought you were gonna do like the Avatar cycle from like Last Airbender.
No, I was going the musical route.
Because I was literally gonna say, I was like, I don't remember the cycle, so there's no way.
Earth, wind, and fire. Yeah, but I actually
don't. It's the band.
Yeah, I know. I'm just stating my tism with music. I had to. Also, no, I don't remember the order that Mokuda. Wasn't it like fire?
He learns Fireball first.
Fire, Earth?
I don't know if he tries doing Earth next.
I don't remember.
But I know he does Earth well.
Mm-hmm.
His wind is like mediocre and his water is non-existent. That's all I remember from the anime.
Well, without spoiling anything, the water is kind of an external source already, so he doesn't necessarily have to do the water part.
Oh yeah, like Ru. Like Ruka ends up giving the blessing to Sue instead.
Mm-hmm. But that's later on.
That's later on. I'm gonna stop the recording. Stop the recording.